Hello, Jonathan Davis with Patriot Gunsmithing. Today I want to show you the difference between field strip cleaning and a complete clean and oil and inspection. I recommend to my customers that you get a complete clean, oil, and inspection done at least once a year, especially if it's your concealed carry or your defensive pistol that you have at home. A lot of people, they field strip their guns and clean it, and they think that's enough. It's not. And I'm going to show you the differences why. And it's, even if you have a polymer gun, a Glock, or the Smith & Wesson M&P or a Springfield XD, you still have to have a complete clean oil and disassembly, clean oil and inspection. Reason being is that the gun gets dirty, obviously, but when you field strip and clean it, there's a lot of nooks and crannies and parts that operate in those nooks and crannies that don't get clean when you field strip and clean it, even if you use a powder blaster or anything like that. So I'm going to show you the differences. I'm using a 1911, my personal 1911. A lot of people like 1911s, except for James Yeager, I don't know if you watched that video, but if you have watched that video, he does make a lot of good points. He just explains it in ways that I would do differently with more tact. But anyways, so this is the frame of a 1911, and this is as far as people would go to disassembly or to field strip and clean it. So I'm going to clean it this way. I'm going to clean it off camera, that way you guys don't just see me cleaning all day. And this is the upper, and basically, you take the barrel out and clean it. And so I'm going to show you all the differences. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean it, then I'm going to come back with a close-up with the camera. Again, I'm doing all this myself. I'm going to show you what the gun looks like when you field strip and clean it after it's clean, and then I'm going to fully disassemble the entire firearm, every single part, and then clean it and then show you the difference. Again, I recommend this once a year. You have to think $55 once a year to make sure that your firearm is in pristine order and that there's no springs that are dinged or are about to fail on you. It's a small price to pay for your life, especially if you depend on these firearms for self-defense and you're not just plinking targets with them. So when you watch this video, keep that in mind and think, okay, when's the last time I've had this gun 100% disassembled and cleaned by a professional gunsmith? Probably never for most of you. And then think, how many rounds have I put through it? This 1911, I keep all my firearms in pristine condition. This 1911 shot 100 rounds from its last cleaning to now. So we're only dealing with 100 rounds of ammo since it was last fully disassembled and cleaned. So keep that in mind too. And how many rounds have you shot through your firearm and haven't had it 100% disassembled and cleaned and oiled and inspected? Okay, so we disassembled to field strip and we cleaned it. Okay, so got most of the junk off of the frame. And I'm using M Pro 7 gun cleaner. It's a pretty good gun cleaner. It's pretty good. I like doing the M Pro 7 is a really good product. If you haven't tried it, I would recommend it. But as you can see, it looks remotely clean. Here's the slide. And yeah, okay, we got some of the gunk off of the fire pin blocking safety. This is a Series 80 1911. Custom built from Remington, the Remington R1 Elite. Look at the back. So yeah, looks clean, right? Ready to shoot. And we clean the barrel, obviously. That's very important. It's 80% of your firearm's performance. Now, I'm going to break it down 100% before I start cleaning. I'm going to show you the obvious gunk that exists in these nooks and crannies. And then I'm going to clean it and show you the vast difference. And again, it's only 100 rounds. And I know a lot of you are thinking, well, Glocks never malfunction, SIGs never malfunction, yada, 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 yada. If you think that, go ahead and use your gun as a hammer and hit yourself in the head until you get a little bit smarter. Every gun is a mechanical machine and it can malfunction. The dirtier it is, the older the lube, more likely it's going to jam on you. So, keep in mind that every firearm, I don't even care if it's an AK-47 because I've seen those malfunction too. Every single firearm is a mechanical machine. They all have different tolerances, but they all can malfunction. Okay, we have this thing 100% disassembled. I want to show you some key points before I cleaned it. Under these spots where the grips lay, especially if this isn't Cerakote, if this is just blued, this is a high rust area. The reason being is because the oils and the salt and everything that's on your skin, whenever you grip the firearm, they will seep underneath the grips. And when they seep underneath the grips and you just field strip them, they don't get clean. Okay, so that's a trouble spot right there. Also inside the frame, if you notice when this frame is 100% disassembled, the gunsmith or whoever's cleaning it has a lot more access to clean all the dirt and grime that can go in there for all those little working parts. As you see, the trigger, you know, it's not that bad when it comes to sanitary. I mean, it's pretty clean. The springs right here, you know, this is what I inspect. I get my little goggles out that I can, you know, my little microscope and all the magnification. I try to find out if I can see any problems. Your sear, your disconnector, and again, this is a series 80, so you got your little levers for your firing pin blocking safety, your hammer. You can see that there's still some grease in there, so everything looks pretty good. Then we move on to this. This is your mainspring housing, and again, only 100 rounds have been through this gun since the last time I fully cleaned it. However, that was about 3 or 4 months ago, and I purposely did that in order to show you what can happen. Now you take this apart and you got your mainspring cap and all this stuff, and you look, we got some ugly rust. Alright, no problem. We inspect that, we clean it, and this is your mainspring. Alright, if this breaks, you don't have a gun, you have a paperweight. Hammer can't go forward, it can't hit the firing pin can't hit the primer. It's useless. Alright, then let's go to the slide. Alright, here's your extractor. This is about 80% of your malfunction problems right here for feeding and extraction and everything. Really, 80% of your malfunctions will be because of your extractor. Now, if this isn't clean, that's going to affect that. Well, if this is 80% of your malfunctions, that might be something you want to get clean. Firing pin blocking safety, clean that up. Everything looks pretty good. Now I'm just going to take a clean Q-tip and stick it in a firing pin hole. And a lot of people don't understand why your firing pin hole channel is so important. As you can see, this is only 100 rounds. Imagine if you have a gun that you haven't had this done in years. Alright? Now why is this important? Your firing pin is what sets the freaking bullet off, okay? So if your firing pin channel is full of gunk, and what happens is whenever this, the round feeds up, it's feeding up at an angle, and the firing pin hole, if it's not chamfered, which Beretta is the only manufacturer that does that, so unless if you took it to a gunsmith to have it done, only Beretta does it. So usually they're pretty sharp. As it feeds up, it chips off a sliver of brass. Well, that brass can go in there, or it can fall down in the gun, who knows. But the more junk you have in that firing pin hole, the more likelihood of your firing pin getting locked up. And if it gets locked up, you have to take the gun apart. Well, you're out of the fight. And again, you know, I can stick my little Q-tip in here right where no one cleans, because they never have this done. And you can see it gets dirtier and dirtier and dirtier. So I'm going to clean all this up, and I'm going to oil it and put it back together, and then I'll finish it up with a conclusion. But I just want you guys to see why it's so important to have a disassembly, clean, and oil. And again, you know, this isn't an HD camera, so I apologize for the, you know, the out of focus close-up shots. But let me tell you from the person here, it's pretty freaking dirty, and you don't want your guns to be like this all the time. Again, I'm talking about having this done once a year. Once a year, and your firearm can be in good, pristine order. So we're back. We just got done doing the full disassembly, clean, and oil. Obviously you've seen what could happen without changing out the oil for a couple months and shooting it. I recommend this annually. and I want you guys to really think about it if you don't get it done, or if you don't plan on getting it done. You change your oil out in your car, and it has an oil filter. You don't have an oil filter in your gun. You have to change out the oil because they get contaminants, and they break down. I use Breakfree CLP, Frog Lube, Impro 7, and I also use Action Plus from Brunel's. It has a Molly B denim. It's a grease, and it goes into the pores of your sears and your trigger. So basically that's where I put it on your sears and your triggers and your hammers, because you don't want those parts to wear at all, because if they wear, they can become unsafe. It also, it doesn't lighten up your trigger pull, but it makes it feel lighter. As you guys saw it firsthand. If you guys don't get this done, you're running a risk, and if you're depending on, or if you use these firearms to depend on your life depends on, you're running a risk. Don't run that risk. Get it done. It's $55. It's just like getting an oil change, basically, except for you can do it annually. I do mine semi-annually, but you can do yours annually. Get all that junk out of your firearm. If you know how to take your firearm 100% apart, and you don't need someone like me to help you put it back together, hey, then you're one step ahead of the game. However, a lot of people don't know how to fully disassemble a gun, or maybe they're just not comfortable. If you're not comfortable, bring it to me. That's my job. I'm comfortable taking these things apart and putting them back together. Get it taken apart, get it cleaned, get fresh oil in there and fresh grease. You do that annually, and you know that your gun is good to go. Not to mention, you have all those parts inspected. I inspect every single part to make sure everything's good to go. So if your life depends on it, I think that's worth $55 once a year to get it done.